podcast with two guys in their 20s giving their perspective on the games that we love, headlines of pop culture, and the meaning behind it all. I'm your host, Wellington Burns, and I'm my counterpart, Savon Morris. How's it going, man?
I hope it's going good, man.
I hope.
I missed you last week.
Man, all good, man. Had to hold it down because I had like the most valuable player wasn't here. The most valuable player
no,
he wasn't here, so
you
it was
the
like...
most valuable player. You know, I'm a good center. You know, if we play basketball, I'm a rebound.
Talking about basketball analogies.
This shit, yeah, I'm that. You're the point guard, man. Point guard is necessary.
Still dating. Well, we have a lot of topics to get into for this episode. Some NFL ones, obviously college football, NBA. We're going to do some album reviews in the second half. We're going to do a review of There Will Be Blood. But to start off with just the thoughts on the Chargers' home win versus the Dolphins this past Sunday night. LA won 23-17, and Justin Herbert threw for 367 yards and a touchdown. The Chargers moving into position for the final AFC playoff berth ahead of the Jets. Herbert also completed a career-high 39 passes on 51 attempts for his 21st 300-yard game.
Yeah.
But what were your thoughts on this Chargers win? And, this was a necessary one for them to have it as they're still fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah, man. First of all, hats off to the Chargers winning a game where they're shorthanded on defense, missing a couple of key players. But man, I'm continuing to grow a inner fan base for Justin Herbert. The guy is just a phenomenal quarterback, and he's doing it at this early stage of his career to be able to find success with this offense. It's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, at certain points, the running game is not working. They still have a tough wide receiver core. It's just certain things they're missing to be that top contender football team. I think they're missing a couple key players on both sides of the ball. Maybe it's a left tackle, maybe it's a right guard, maybe it's another big time tight end, a wide receiver, or maybe it's another Darren James. They need another Darren James on the defensive side, but they're missing something. But they figure out a way to win. Dolphins are hot right now. Tua is playing lights out. He's playing like he wants to prove everybody wrong. And just the season he's had, being knocked out of games, being failed by the NFLPA in the NFL. So this game, I think, meant a lot to both organizations. But Justin Herbert looked good, 367 yards. The guy looked poised, looked like he's been in the league 10 years already.
They look like a well-seasoned veteran.
No, for sure, man. And they're 7-6, which is crazy. It's just they're missing those little bit, those extra players that to take them over. I think this year going into, maybe they need a couple veteran guys, or go in the draft to get some of these young wide receivers. There are a ton of wide receivers they can go get. They have a couple picks in the second round, and I think they have 2 in the fourth round. So I think there's opportunities for them to grow. I think they're heading in the right direction. But this game continues to show Justin Herbert finds a way to win. I mean, it was in hindsight, it was a defensive game, but them to be able to pull it off with them short-handed on the defensive side is no small feat, man. Justin Herbert is killing it, but it's not translating to wins and losses just yet. 7-6.
Yeah, and there has been conversation about like looking back at that 2020 draft class with Burrow, Herbert, Tua, even Jalen Hurts. Like, how do you look back at that class now in terms of just like the top guy? Like, would you still say like Joe Burrow out of that class is still like the top of that list, and the one who kind of seems like the one who's always ready for the postseason, always ready for the big moments, and still kind of to me, I would probably put him at that top list of the ones that like when you kind of really need a game in the postseason, even as he showed us against Kansas City last year, he's able to kind of step up to that moment.
Who, Joe?
Yeah.
I still like Joe, but I don't. I think I like Justin over Joe. I think Joe is in a better team situation than Justin Herbert. I think if you put Justin Herbert with the Bengals last year, Cincinnati, I think he'll flourish even more than Joe Burrow did. I mean, they had to pick it up though. They didn't start off hot last year. Then they, went on a run with Jamar Chase kind of figuring out defense and creating mismatches. And the running game was working. But I think if Justin Herbert was in that offense, I think he flourishes even more. I think it's their offensive scheme. Well, in hindsight, when they played the Rams last year, the offensive line looked terrible.
Yeah.
But I think he has more weapons than Justin Herbert.
At his disposal.
He have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams is in and out with injuries. They don't have a big tight end to go through, and their running game with Eckler is kind of fading off a little bit in my eyes. But I think right now I still like Justin Herbert. Joe Burrow hasn't shown me enough this year to say, hey, he's still one of the top guys out of that draft, quarterback wise. I think Justin Herbert is going to be legit. Well, he's already legit, but I think eventually he'll start gaining pieces around him to make that team legit, make them a contender. But I like Justin Herbert over Joe Burrow.
Yeah, and hopefully we can see them in the postseason this year and finally get that because like we haven't seen Justin Herbert yet in that stage. But it'll I think this will definitely be the year where we can kind of see like, okay, like what is he ready for, what is he built for? Because like you said, like we've talked about it all summer as well. Justin Herbert is the guy that we think
Yeah.
can possibly be next up to really ascend into an elite class. And now getting to San Francisco's dominant win versus Tampa Bay, and also like Brock Purdy's continued development. I mean, I don't know if I wouldn't say like a decimation. It wasn't even like it was just like they completely just wiped it. They completely just wiped them out.
They needed 3 wishes for sure,
yeah.
They needed a miracle.
But with this win for San Francisco, they were able to win 35-7. Purdy threw 2 touchdown passes and ran for another score. Christian McCaffrey ran for 119 yards and added a touchdown on the ground with a 38-yard run after Brady was intercepted by Deshaun Gibson on the first drive of the third quarter. But looking at the San Francisco team, obviously, like the Deebo Samuel injury was something that's obviously concerning because he's such a huge vital part to that offense. But what are your thoughts on this San Francisco team still finding ways to win? Obviously, like this isn't the same Tampa Bay team we're accustomed to seeing, but they still had to take care of a team that was not at their best and just dominated in every facet.
You know what, man? I love the way this organization is and their general manager, John Lynch, finds ways to get players into that organization. Rams do it too. It's something about the West Coast that they have enough money to get players in there. But I love the Christian McCaffrey pickup was one of the best things they did in the past 3 years. It's bigger than when they got Trey Lance, bigger than when they went to the Super Bowl. Christian McCaffrey adds a different element, so you don't have to, use Deebo Samuel as much as it was, and now he's injured. I mean, that play alone could have been avoided, I think, but it's football. You're gonna get hurt. He's probably did that play multiple times, several thousand times in his career with
routine play.
With the 49ers, but I think adding Chris, if he comes back, I know is a knee injury, if he's able to come back, I know Christian McCaffrey can take that load off, and he's so vital in the pass and running game, and I think that's the difference, especially that touchdown. He stepped on like 2 defenders and outran everybody. So he had a receiving touchdown. He had a running touchdown. He's a good blocker. Like he checks boxes. I think his tank ran out with the Panthers. Now he has a rejuvenation with the 49ers. And I think that's the difference on the offense. And then you had Deebo, you have these other guys, and then you put this Purdy guy that they got from God knows where to come in. He hasn't did much, but when you have weapons, all you need is a game manager. And I think that's what Purdy did.
It's a quarterback-friendly system. Yeah. So, like Kyle Shanahan, he runs the perfect quarterback-friendly system that any quarterback can do well in.
Yeah, for sure. And all you have to do is game manage and not make mistakes. And Purdy did not make mistakes in this game. I mean, 2 touchdowns, 185 yards, 16 from 21, I think is a good solid showing from a backup quarterback, right? Yeah, so we've seen backup quarterbacks this season in a while. You got the Washington Commanders got their backup quarterback in. There's several other teams that have backup quarterbacks in. That's weird to say a couple times, man. But no, 49ers, man, they know how to get players in there.
Of the day, trademark phrase of the day, backup.
But no, man, 49. And then you look at the Buccaneers. The strongest thing they had as a unit was their defense. Their defense looked sloppy. Levante David is not as poised as Devin White has kind of, declined a little bit this year. They don't have the big guys up front. Ndamukong Suh is with the Eagles, the team that they had when they won the Super Bowl. They had tried to get everybody back. Mike Evans him and Tom Brady's not on the same page. There's a lot of turmoil in this organization, but I think their defense is the biggest part. If their defense was still stout, I think the woes on offense wouldn't be as pungent as it is right now. But man, that defense doesn't look like the defense from 2 years ago. It does.
It really doesn't. Even like in the first half of the season, I mean, like in the first couple of weeks of the season, their defense will keep them in games. Now that's even something that's really not looking like the same degree that we're used to. Like when you look at also the game they had before against the Saints, Brady leads them on a comeback. It almost felt like one of those games where like they're not. It showed a glimpse of why Brady's the greatest, but it really wasn't a true sign of who this team is, because that team is not the comeback team.
No.
The game against San Francisco was more of a realistic picture to me of what this team actually is this year.
Yeah. And you look at the decline in numbers, man. Also, like, 2 years ago, they were top 10 in running. They were top 10 in passing. We're still number 5 in passing. They're 32nd in rushing, averaging 72 yards a game. And then their defense was top 10, top 7 in every category. And they're 20 in rushing. They allow 130 yards. 2 years ago, that didn't happen. That did not happen. So they're not the same defense as they were 2 years ago. And it's showing consistently. And when you have so many off-field problems and they break up defenses, the front seven was the powerhouse,
Yeah.
So, man, they have a lot of missing holes, a lot of players that has not played to the capability of when they won the Super Bowl. And they're not going to turn around this year. They have to look themselves in the mirror and say, okay, as an organization, what do we need? Do we need to go away from Tom Brady? What do we need to do? A running game? Do we need to draft another running back? Leonard Fournette is declining, 72 yards a game. What about our wide receivers? They have to look at their organization and look at the pieces they have. What do they need to do? Trade deadline is way, way over. Offseason is your only chance. The draft is your only chance. They have to make some tough decisions this offseason.
Yeah, they really are. And now getting into Philly's a road win versus the Giants and them clinching their playoff berth. The Eagles won 48-22, and Jalen Hurts threw 2 touchdowns and ran for another. This is Philly's second straight playoff berth in 5th in 6 years. Hurts also threw for 217 yards and scored on their first 3 possessions. Looking at this Philly team, because I mean they are just clicking on all cylinders. They look like they can win any type of game. And Jalen Hurts just looks comfortable like week after week. What are your thoughts on this win against a Giant team, like we said, that has impressed us for a good bit of the season, but now they're kind of been on a bit of a slide currently?
You know what, man? They messed up and let Jalen Hurts get comfortable.
Yeah.
With the system, with the NFC South, with the NFC, period. That guy looks like he's hungry. And man, it's a testament to just his humility and his ability to yearn to be a great quarterback. Not just to be a great black quarterback, to be a great quarterback, just period. And everything is slowing down now. Last year,
you can tell that.
Things wasn't working. The chemistry wasn't fully there. Now he has the good chemistry with Devontae Smith. The running game is working with Sanders. The offensive line looks good. He has time. It's a difference when a quarterback can go through his progression. But if he can't go through 2 progressions, and when you have like 3 or 4 as a quarterback, there's a problem. Then he has to run and he's fatigued. There's a lot of things that go into being a quarterback. But now he has time. They go out and get some great guys on the offensive line. And then the defensive side looks so good. Adding Ndamukong Suh was one of the best things they could have done. Now that's just the added beef up front with, Fletcher Cox, who's been consistent since he's been in the league. There's videos of him and Ndamukong Suh on the sideline talking about who's defensive line you or whatever, Nebraska, and I forgot what team the college Fletcher Cox came from. But they're having fun is what I'm getting at. They're having fun.
Loose.
Football is fun. Things are slowing down, and he's not making mistakes. That's the biggest thing, Jalen Hurts. He didn't make big mistakes at Alabama or at Oklahoma in my eyes.
He's never really beat himself. Never got in his own way.
He's a game manager, and he's a guy who can extend plays. He had 2 touchdowns in the air and 1 touchdown on the ground. He's going to give you a dual threat, and he's not going to make crazy mistakes. That's beautiful as a quarterback. But yeah, man, they let Jalen Hurts get comfortable and let the game slow down. It's going to be hard to beat them. It's going to be hard.
Now they got Dallas. Now they got Dallas Christmas Eve.
I love it.
Huge game.
And you know what? Dallas is not going to win.
No, they're not. Just letting you guys know. I mean, like, and that's honestly the thing, because I think, I mean, They already have the look, like you can tell in certain parts of the year when a team is just coming into form and they look like the team that's going to be like the clear cut uh top team to get to the Super Bowl. Like
Yeah.
in the NFC, like how do like outside of them, is there one other team that you think, okay, they could possibly put up a fight against Philly, if things work out for them in an ideal scenario?
I think 49ers. I think 49ers can out call them.
Yeah.
Because even with Jalen Hurts playing great football, they're limited to what play calling they do with Jalen. I think even with the backup quarterback, I think they have enough weapons to. I think Deebo Samuels will come back. I don't think it was an ACL tear, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think
MCL.
it was MCL. So he probably six. Ooh, he might be back divisional if they make it to divisional round. I think he'll be back. Will he be fully healthy? But I think they can utilize him. But even without Deebo, I think their play calling with Kyle Shanahan is so top 3 in the NFL that I think they'll out call the Eagles. Because again, I think Jalen Hurts is limited in what they call with him to try to slow the game down. I don't think his playbook is extensive at all. But I think the 49ers, it will be a good one to be able to go toe to toe. And then that's tough because the Eagles look really good. That's the only team I know because they got Christian McCaffrey. That man he just hit the ground running.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody else. Yeah, 49ers. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Can't say Green Bay, can't say Buccaneers.
The teams you're used to saying you can't say this year.
You can't. It's so weird.
That's so weird. Yeah, it's so weird. And now getting into college football with thoughts on Caleb Williams winning the Heisman. Williams won against Georgia's Stetson Bennett, TCU's Max Duggan, Ohio State's CJ Stroud. He received 544 first place votes in over 13 games. He threw for 4,075 yards and 37 touchdowns with only 4 interceptions. But what were your thoughts on Caleb Williams winning? And obviously, like there was a conversation of him like not having a good conference championship, and sometimes people think, okay, would that affect the vote? But
yeah,
in terms of the overall season that he had, even though he didn't finish it out strong, what did you think about his victory in winning the Heisman this year?
I didn't like it. I didn't like Caleb.
It was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was definitely weird. I thought Stetson should have won it, and I mean, that's who I thought should have won it. I mean, he had 3,400 yards, 20 touchdowns. Yeah, he had 6 interceptions. Caleb Williams had 4 interceptions, and he's undefeated, and his team is going to go to the national championship and win it.
Yeah.
I know this is an individual accolades, but if I'm a voter, I'm looking at how he leads his team. They're 11-2. They lost in their conference championship. They had an opportunity to be in the playoffs, and they missed it.
It's kind of weird when you give it to the one guy out of that whole list who's not going to the playoffs, and the other 3 guys are.
Because what you had, Max Duggan could have been a better choice.
Yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, CJ Stroud is another one.
Yeah.
I think had a semi better season than Caleb Williams. I just didn't see it, and he wasn't a flashy guy this year with USC. And I'm looking at strength of schedule too. If I'm looking at strength of schedule and Stetson is still having this superb team where he don't play half of certain quarters, and their running game is really good. USC's running game is not good. He throws 75% of the time with USC. Stetson does not, and he's not far off in passing yards, but he has more touchdowns. Like I just didn't understand. I thought Stetson Bennett should have definitely won the Heisman. Just looking at his back-to-back seasons, and now he has a chance to repeat.
It has to be rewarded in some way.
They beat every SEC team this year. Like, come on, bro. And all the SEC teams were ranked, bro. Come on.
Like, I know that Georgia defense is incredible, but don't sleep on Stetson Bennett. You cannot sleep on him. That's the same thing that the people did in the national championship, and he shocked the world.
Shock the world. It ain't gonna be a shock this year. They're gonna win it. If they don't win it, I'm like,
I'd be shocked if they don't win it.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought Bennett should have won. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Obviously, we're going to analyze this more in the next episode. But what were your thoughts on the top 4 that were picked? Obviously, like we expected Georgia and Michigan. But what did you kind of think about TCU and Ohio State also getting in those last 2 spots?
We're gonna see, man. I mean, like TCU, they only lost one game. They also had a tail end in the conference, but I mean, they've played a solid season throughout, and we talked about them not being good since LaDainian Tomlinson.
Yeah.
I forgot the quarterback name that was
Andy Dalton.
Yeah, Andy. They had Andy.
But Andy got to that
that
run.
national championship deep run.
It was
right?
good seasons, but not elite.
But I understand why they squeaked in. So I know I like. We'll see. I like it. I like this playoffs, but no one is strong enough to go toe to toe with Georgia. They're too tough on both sides of the ball. Like TCU is good on offense, but the defense is terrible. Ohio State is decent on offense, but the defense is terrible. Michigan has a crazy double header running game. Yeah, especially that running game. But I don't think they're gonna do much with that Georgia defense. And then offense, they have the tight ends. Don't even talk about the wide receivers. Don't talk about the running game.
Don't even get to them yet.
five-star tight ends that could start anywhere, and they're at Georgia. So man, yeah, I like that. I understand why they're in the playoffs for sure, but this is no competition. No competition.
Really it's back to back. Yeah,
but it would be funny.
Back to back, I'm Jordan 96-97.
That would be interesting if we got a Michigan Ohio State rematch.
That's what I was. That's the wrinkle in there, because if you really think about it, that would be a really interesting national championship.
And because we've gotten that before with Alabama and LSU.
Florida State national championship.
No,
that would be mayhem. That would be mayhem.
No, that would be crazy if that did happen. If some way that happened, Michigan, Ohio State. Goodness. I gotta take. I have to take Michigan. Okay.
Me too. Yeah,
I have to take Michigan. The running game. Yeah, they're the better team, and the running game is crazy. But yeah.
But
we're not gonna see that. We're not gonna see that.
Georgia.
Georgia champions again.
And now getting into, obviously, this was breaking news last week with Britney Griner's release from Russia, and just kind of thoughts on the voice of pro athletes. She returned to the U.S. early Friday after being freed in a high-profile prisoner exchange following nearly 10 months in detention in Russia. But what were your thoughts on how long this process and situation was for Griner and the news of her kind of finally being back in the U.S.?
You know what, bro? I'm going to be controversial here. I think that was a dumb trade. I think it was a dumb swap. To be completely honest with you, Wellington, she's going to have to run for president. She's going to have to do something in the community. Yeah, bro, you have to do something. America traded.
Man,
I think this was Russia playing all along.
Like, I kind of feel that way too.
Because normally, even Amsterdam, Paris, all these other countries, they'll hold you and they'll let you go. They probably did their research. Russia is smart. They probably did their research like, okay, 1, she's black. 2, she's, and then 3, she's in a sport. So she's already in the public eye. And then at how media is persuasive these days, they use it as their benefit. And they held her and they gave her this ridiculous amount of time, right? And then obviously America's be like, hey, we should go get her. Hey, go get her. Hey, come on. We got A$AP Rocky. We got the swimmer, Ryan Locke, where he did his crazy thing. So let's go get her. But I think this was the dumbest trade ever. Whoever, yeah. I don't
so
like
much
it,
about
bro.
it just didn't seem.
It didn't sit right with
authentic.
me.
Yeah.
Russia definitely won this one.
Yeah.
She's gonna have to be a straight and narrow from now on.
How shrewd and just kind of like strategic Russia is, you can kind of tell when things just are really off.
They probably had a party.
Oh yeah.
They
went off.
I just saw this, and then the interview that I forgot her name, which they were talking about, I'm like, this don't make no sense. Obviously, you don't want she broke the rules. She broke the law. The law. Obviously the years were okay. Come on, Russia. We know you did this for a reason. But to trade her for this guy who we've had for a long time, who's like up in Russia for a basketball player, does not make sense to me. But welcome home, Britney. Welcome home. I hope you are straight and narrow and you go get your medical marijuana card.
You gotta be. After that. Because that's a trade you're never gonna see again. I mean, you don't see something like that ever. Like that is a very distinct situation.
Yeah, I don't think Brock would have did it. I don't think Trump would have definitely did it. Trump would have like, you know what? We're gonna leave her there. She's safe. She's like, bro. I wouldn't agree. Leave her there.
Yeah.
We cannot trade somebody like that for a basketball player. Can't, man. Yeah, but I just don't. Yeah. I know I'm being controversial, but I just don't understand it. Yeah. There you go. Thank you, Wellington. Honest opinion.
You're fully being honest and just not gonna go with everything everybody is saying. You have to be fully transparent about something like that. The math wasn't mathing. The math was not mathing. The math wasn't mathing.
The math wasn't mathing. She the backup quarterback. She the backup.
This was a Brock Purdy.
They should have asked for a recipe. I would have given them a recipe instead of, you know what I mean? Like, why are we giving her, trading this person for Britney Griner? Come on, man.
And now starting off with our first NBA topic with kind of thoughts on the Pelicans being number one in the West and their impressive, back-to-back wins against the Suns. New Orleans won their last game against Phoenix, 129-124 in OT. Zion scored 35 for his second straight game, and CJ McCollum added 29. But when it comes to how the Pelicans are off to a scintillating start, they had success against Phoenix in last year's postseason. Obviously, this year with Zion back healthy, like he looks to be in just complete rare form. What are your thoughts on this team being number one in the West and just also like where they kind of rank in the hierarchy of like legitimate contenders in the Western Conference?
That's the key. Zion has to be 100%. He has to be light. And I know they were going to compare him to Charles Barkley, which I think it was a perfect comparison. Perfect. Man, but Zion he has it in his eye. Like he hears what people have been saying the last couple of years. He knows the hype he had when he came in. So now he's trying to live up to it. And I think he can. God forbid he gets injured. I hope he doesn't get injured. I hope he has the perfect season.
Scope predicts he will not.
Right, no. They're going to the playoffs. If he keeps playing like this, Brandon Ingram is going to come back. He's still kind of banged up. But CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, and Zion playing, and their bench is coming off and playing Jose Alvarado, I think in Alvarado, whatever. Avocado. Yeah. Alvarado. But no, man, they're playing great basketball, and I think it's because of all of them. But I think Zion is the difference maker. He's bringing that energy back to the basketball team. You can tell it. Yeah, man, he's hungry. And I knew he wasn't going to be a bust. He just needed that time to mentally be there.
Needed that
and
then
time also
off.
Get his body right, man. Yeah. Because it takes a lot of energy to be him and how he plays. So now he's sat. He's mentally prepared. He prepared his body, and then now he's showing everybody why I was one of the top guys coming out of Duke. Let's go.
We all knew he had it. We all knew he had it. Will
they stay number one? I think so. I think they'll stay number one for another month. I believe they have the momentum going in.
They can do it for another.
Yeah, and then in the West. We still say Denver. I still think Denver can be number one but they just come on. They're always injured. Come on. I like always the Denver.
Injury prone team because I like Denver the most in the West.
Yes,
that's the team I want to have full confidence in getting to the finals. But when the injury bug is around, it's hard to like fully invest in a team like that. I think that's really the one thing that's holding them back. Because outside of that, we've seen Jamal Murray do what he does. He's a phenomenal playoff performer. But now it's just about like, can this team stay fully healthy?
And the answer right now is no.
No.
Memphis is still looking good. I think they're conforming, but they're still a young team.
Yeah.
And I
Does
think they're missing another guy too.
does it concern you how because obviously Phoenix has had back to back losses against this Pelicans team. They lost in a blowout against Boston
Yeah.
last Wednesday. Like they haven't really looked as consistent recently. Does it kind of concern you? Because obviously they just got Chris Paul back, but does it concern you that they kind of aren't seeming like a that they kind of have been sliding a bit, or do you maybe attribute it to the fact that Chris Paul's been out for a bit of a stretch?
I think it's a bit of Chris Paul being out. Devin Booker still being banged up a little bit. He's not 100%. And then I think the chemistry, the team basketball they had the years prior has not. I think it's loosening a little bit. I know DeAndre
Yes.
Ayton was figuring if he wanted to stay or not. Chris Paul has been in and out. Devin Booker, it's been in and out. And I think after a while, you're gonna start butting heads because you're trying to figure out what is going wrong when we get to the top of the hill, and we don't produce what we've been producing the entire year, the entire season. So at a certain point, you're gonna butt heads. And I think when DeAndre Ayton was debating if he wanted to stay or not, if they were going to give him a contract or not, I think that was another a mental standpoint. Basketball, I think they're all good at basketball, but I think it's the mental standpoint for each individual player that's kind of plaguing their team. And then if your star, not your star, but your leader, Chris Paul, is out, then I don't think Devin
Yeah.
Booker, we've
Floor
seen that
general.
before. Yeah, floor general, and I don't think Devin Booker is that type of leader. I don't think DeAndre Ayton is that type of leader. They need that veteran guy, and that's what Chris Paul did when he first got there. He solidifies himself as a veteran leader. And once your veteran leader is there, the roles that were implemented when they start winning basketball, it's not going to go away. So now they're trying to
Right.
adapt to their leader not being there. So when you always tell people to buy into the role, or this is what you got to do in a basketball team, when that changes, that's hard too, because you had to adapt to that for a certain period of time. So, but with Chris Paul out, I feel like and then back in, I think they'll get back to playing basketball and then get the
Yeah.
mentals right, because they're still, I think they're 16-11 there. I think they're number 3 or number 4 in the
Yeah.
West,
Not
so
bad.
they're not they're not far off. So I think when they'll get back into the swing of things and losing to the Pelicans back to back, and then I'm having a problem with Zion doing that 360 dunk. I thought it was amazing.
I
I
mean,
thought that's what the Pelicans needed.
gotta stop them. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have an issue with it, just stop them. Like that's
Say that.
it's always
Say
funny.
what I'm
It's
talking about,
always
Wellington.
it's always funny to me when teams have issues like that, because it's just like if you didn't get in his way or stop them at all, they can do whatever they want until the buzzer sounds.
Exactly.
Until the buzzer,
Unwritten rule or
so
no unwritten rule. Hey, listen, it made his teammates go crazy. At that
yeah,
moment, they need that. They need that
they honestly
energy.
needed them. Yeah, they like I said,
Yeah.
that boost.
Cause
Yeah,
what he said was immature, but like that's my brother. Like I love Zion because I never see Zion serious.
exactly.
In that
We always
interview,
yeah
he's always laughing, but that interview, I saw another side. I was like, okay, he got a dog in him.
yeah
Okay, he's not all play. Like he could get serious, and that was him serious. Like, look, I made a conscious decision. I'm gonna do this beautiful dunk, and I want somebody to say something. If you say something, okay. And then not immature, but the mature thing was like, if they did it, I won't have a problem with it. Do it. Beat us. You beat us last year. Okay, we showing y'all we making up for it.
coming back
Beat
this year.
us.
Yeah,
Exactly. So
definitely. Look out for the Pelicans. Look out.
no,
Look out. Yeah.
number one.
Definitely. And now getting into kind of where the Mavericks currently stand, and just thoughts on where they're at in this particular season. Dallas is currently eighth in the West, and they've really regressed, in the second quarters and fourth quarter performances. Their offense has looked, kind of predictable and stagnant at times, but when it comes to this team kind of letting big leads turn into close games, what are your thoughts on kind of like why they can't figure it out currently, and also, what Luka is doing, because so many times Luka has amazing performances early on, but just like even what we saw against Milwaukee, couldn't close it out, couldn't make the big shot at the end of the game, and they're still kind
Mhm.
of in that middling spot of like, what is this team's real identity?
You know what? And I'm glad you made that point. That's a solid point. I want to add to that. They're not far off. There's a couple of things that's wrong with this basketball team, and then I don't know if they need a second star, but the one they can't make free throws and save their lives.
At all. when it matters most.
Yes. 5 games they could have won, and I think they were shooting from lower than 50% from the line. 50% from the line is terrible as a basketball team. And I think they're third. No. They're near to last. The last team is Sacramento Kings, who have a terrible free throw line percentage, right? That changes the game. That's 5 games you could have won if you made your free throws. And secondly, they built a team to shoot threes, which is not good. They don't have a defensive team. They don't have a defensive structure. You got all these players just to be a 3-point team. And then you better figure it out here shortly, because Luka's contract is coming up in the next couple of years. You have to convince him to stay.
Yeah, you don't want that situation where he looks out and likes his other options.
No, exactly. Because, I mean, you go get Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker has been on the decline for the last 3 years. I think he's right under Russell Westbrook in play. But going to get him, I thought it was a good opportunity to try to, help with the offense. Then I'm thinking, like, no, they are creating a team to shoot threes, which is the league's fault in my eyes. That's what the league is going to. Nobody's playing defense. And that's why you're not winning games. You're not making free throws, and you're not playing good defense. You're building a team for 3-point shooters.
And that's if you're not shooting, like it almost looks weird in the NBA if you're not shooting threes. Like you have an open layup, and a lot of players are just like, I'll just step back and shoot a 3, even though I got an open layup. Like that's what the league is turning into, and we're even seeing that with Dallas more and more. But getting into the Clippers and Sixers struggles, obviously, I mean, with the Clippers, like they just had a big win against Boston last night. Yeah. Currently 7th in the West, and another team that has had second quarter struggles. But like we talk about it every year, Tyronn Lue, he knows how to coach a team even when they're depleted, and we are seeing John Wall, Paul George, and Kawhi look more comfortable. And then Philly, on the other hand, they have experienced Harden and Tyrese Maxey missing a lot of time. Embiid has dominated for many fourth quarters, but that still only led them to a 500 record. But which team do you feel like if they're kind of clicking on all cylinders and healthy near the postseason can maybe go on a further run at the moment?
Well, first of all, we know why the Clippers is not playing on an all-time high. Your 2 guys haven't played consistent games to be able to even build team chemistry. Kawhi, Paul George. But when it comes to the 76ers, oh my gosh. See, the watch is just be
the watch, man.
The government, man. I didn't even press it.
I'm telling you.
But no, man. Every year, I'm so disappointed in the 76ers. Every single year. They make these, crazy moves year in and year out.
This is going to be our year.
Yeah, the process. That was the most beautiful marketing thing they had was 7 years ago. Yeah, and the process is not. And the process is not even finished. But to answer your question, right? No, that's what they should change it to: processing to loading. But who has a better chance to make it to the playoffs? I think the Clippers. To be honest with you, if Kawhi and Paul George played the other game, he looked really good. When he's healthy,
when he's playing, like my goodness,
you gotta
like,
play.
One of the best 2-way players in the league.
Yes, Kawhi, it looks great on paper, and we haven't said this in a long time. It looks so darn good on paper. Are they the
on-paper team this year?
Yes, because none of them are playing. None of them are playing. They had created a new identity for the Clippers to bring Paul George and Kawhi there. Pat Bev has been gone. Another, Montreal has been gone. Like it's all these different new names and new faces, and then the faces that are the leader of your basketball team is not playing consistently. But I still think they have a better chance of making the playoffs and making a run for it better than the 76ers. Just given they have a two, which is not heard of.
It's really not.
2-way players.
That's why this Clippers team is always deemed as one of the ones that can go on a deep run.
Yeah.
Like, when you have Kawhi and Paul George, I mean, like, you can do some damage in the postseason. Like you can really do something. And also John Wall. Like what are your thoughts on John Wall coming back and being kind of on a team that's deemed a contender? Because he it seems like he's still kind of integrating himself in that process,
Yeah.
but there have been spots where he kind of has looked like glimpses of the old John Wall at
John
points.
Wall, yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder how Tyronn Lue is going to utilize him moving forward. Because, you know, Kawhi is not back. So are they going to run the offense, but through John Wall and Paul, or are they going to try to, unleash John Wall and see if he can handle those moments when they give him the ball, or give him those 1-2 punches of the pick and roll, or give him an ISO? Because I think he still has the ability to create his own shot and to facilitate. I think he's still a true point guard. I'm interested to see if he's going to unleash him. I hope he does. I want to see John Wall be the John Wall that came out of Kentucky, that had the Wizards, going
Wizards
crazy for the X amount. Yeah,
finals.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. So if Kawhi comes back, then I don't think I just don't want to speculate on Kawhi anymore. I'm tired of Kawhi. I'm tired of Kawhi at this point.
Kawhi played last night. He played last night against Boston.
How long he's gonna play Wellington?
But
I don't get my hopes up, bro.
That's the thing. You can't get your hopes up, obviously, because
that's what I'm saying.
The part is how they look up to All-Star break is going to be very interesting, and then right after, like, that's the telltale sign. Like, because after All-Star break, you can't miss multiple games. That's like home stretch. That's home stretch.
And that's my problem. I saw him play. I was like, I wasn't happy. I was more happy Paul George was playing than Kawhi, because this time management thing he's been doing for the past 3 years, and he's not really played or gave Clippers anything back in their investment.
Because you got to be honest, Paul George got them in the Western Conference Finals against Phoenix, and they pushed them to 6 games. Kawhi wasn't there, so like that is a point you have to acknowledge.
No, for sure. If he plays consistently, and John Wall, I hope they unleash John Wall and let Kawhi and Paul.
I want to see John Wall have a great year.
Be the defensive guys. Obviously, they can still score, but I want to see John Wall go crazy.
Me too.
Go crazy. But it's interesting how Tyronn Lue is. Everybody's playing, no time management. We're trying to get to the Western Conference Finals again, into the NBA Finals. I'm interested to see how he does his lineup and how he utilizes John Wall with those two guys.
Western Conference Finals are bust. That's what I'm gonna say for the Clippers.
Yeah,
because if they don't get to Western Conference Finals, it's a failed season. They got to this year. They definitely have to.
I agree.
And now getting into our first album review, which is SOS, and kind of thoughts on the variety of this album, plus just how she approached the themes. In this new highly anticipated project, we see so much versatility throughout. Her strength as a vocalist and writer are clearly evident. Plus, she's a master of her craft on instant bangers like "Low and Conceited" and also her hit "Shirt." To me, all of these songs, felt a lot of them felt very loose and confident, and to me, it's some of the most like assured music she's made in a long time. But what were your initial thoughts on this album and some of the standout tracks? This is a project to me where she doesn't just stay in one pocket. She switches it up to different way, which I love. Yeah. I mean, like this album to me it's beautiful, it's mature, it's well rounded. It just has all of the elements. You can tell 5 years later, this is like the mature SZA and the one who's really figured out something.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. Like the versatility, she switched it up a couple times, and she gave us a little rock. She gave us a more pop, singy type vibes, and I was like, okay, this is a nice switch up. Now her voice is not just made for a lot of verb and like slow tracks. She can do those. She has that versatility in her arsenal to be able to do tracks like that and bring in a different fan base. I thought this was a solid project. I thought I kind of like the second half more than I like the first half.
Second half, she really got into it.
Yeah, second half, she really dove into it. And I think she put most of the songs at the tail end, because obviously you already listen to them. Shirt, I Hate You, Good Days. Even the ODB one was was a breath of fresh air, man. ODB just funny. Oh, dirty. That's funny, man. But I think I enjoyed the second half more than I liked the first half. I do like the melody she had with Hughes with Don Tolliver. I thought that was a good switch up as well. But Kill Bill was my least favorite.
You didn't like Kill Bill? Oh
Kill Bill
man,
was my
I
least
love Kill
favorite.
Bill.
Yeah, that was my least favorite. I was like,
Oh,
I actually skipped it. I listened to half of it and I was like, oh, it's not going to change. Skip.
mm,
But I thought everything else was very solid. I like the
okay.
switch up with the two songs. I can't remember the two songs. It's like, I think it's either Ghost and Machine. No, it's Smoking.
Yeah,
No, not Smoking Max, but it was when she did
was
the.
it Gone Girl?
Yeah, it was Gone Girl. It was Notice Me, Gone Girl, and then Ghost and Machine.
That
That
runs
switch, she
insane.
really
Yeah,
switched it up, and then she went back into obviously the R&B, what she's used to. But I love the switch up. They gave it some versatility to keep the listener engaged. But no, I thought it was very solid. I thought it was a very solid project. Very solid
yeah,
project.
absolutely.
Well
I,
worth
I
the
mean,
wait.
like it was really worth the wait. Like this was a longer project. Like, did it surprise you like with it? Because like obviously like with Control, I think it was like 16 or 17 songs. It was a
Mm-hmm.
little more concise. Like, did you feel as though like because she even said like she did a lot of interviews for this album, and she was talking about like how there was so much music she wanted to put out, but there was just like that push of like, hey, okay, that pull of like, okay, do I really want to give this to them? Like, should I keep
Yeah.
this? And it seemed like this was the project where she was like, no, they're gonna get everything that I have, and
Right.
I'm really just gonna let them see what everything I've been tinkering with.
She gets a pass for 23 songs. 5 years since
Yeah,
Control. I think it's if she would have put 30 songs on, I would have listened to all of them. I think
I would have. I didn't
we
have any problem.
yeah,
I didn't have any
I
problem.
had no problem with this because this has been an anticipated album. I didn't think we were gonna get it this year. I thought it was gonna be the but I'm glad
Somebody
we
said
did.
December.
Yeah.
Somebody said
You
December.
did. Wellington, yeah. Wellington, you did say this. You did say, what if she dropped it at the end of the year? And I'm like, nah,
Yeah,
she's not going to drop
they
it
were
at the end
like,
of the year.
yeah, you Marie's like,
I
no.
don't think so. No, I don't think she'll do that because she won't have, but to be able to go into the next year and people still listening to your album and you still have the beginning of the year to continue to take over the game. I thought it
And she's
was
going on
good
tour in
marketing.
February.
Exactly. So I think it was good marketing and a good plan. Top
This
dog
is
is
who it
trying
reminds
to.
me of.
Who's
This is
that?
who it reminds me of. Lauryn Hill. What Lauryn Hill did. There's rumors that this is what I want to say. There's rumors that SZA said that this is going to be her last album. Lauren, if you think about the miseducation of Lauryn Hill, that was like 14, 15 songs. Control, 16. Lauryn Hill's second album, MTV Unplugged, was 24 songs. Then she was done. SZA just dropped a 23-song album. So if that might be also the reasoning. That also might be the logic. Just pointing that out.
And her 2 albums still run to this day.
Yeah, exactly. Two albums you can still run through. I
Has
think
she changed that much though? Cause she was very adamant about the label not allowing her to drop music. Now you drop just 2 albums and now you're done. Hmm.
and
I
I
don't
hope
know, man.
I hope it's not true, but the rumors
I hope
of
it
her
is.
saying like this will be my last album. It just made me think. I don't want her to, but I'm saying if she did, I feel like she's doing the Lauryn Hill route.
That's interesting. I never thought about it like that. Wow. Okay. And then both her albums still run to this day. She's
Still,
still
you can go
well
through at any
known.
point you want to. Any point you want to.
Huh. I hope she
Food for
doesn't,
thought,
but if she
listeners.
does, yeah,
But
I don't.
we're rooting
Ooh.
against this take. Am I rooting? This is the one take we're rooting against.
Wait. So do you think both of these albums can withstand? Well, we already know one can,
Well,
or
we
one
definitely know
has.
one. One
Right.
has.
Do you think her career is able to do what Lauryn Hill did? Because Lauryn Hill she was been with
Yeah.
groups. She's like her
That's
career
the
was
thing. She also had the
solidified.
group albums. That's the one thing that
Yes.
even elevated because that's the one. SZA doesn't have the other group albums. I think that's what Lauryn Hill's safe like
Hmm.
her scapegoat was the fact that I'm with the Fugees. Like I got these other projects that is gonna like even elevate me more, even if people aren't just satisfied with my 2 albums. That's the one reason why I'd say the Lauryn Hill was even able to get away with it more because she also had the group projects. So that's if you're going through that route, then I can't see why it might not work for SZA.
Yeah, I don't think her career is set up like that right now to
Yeah,
just drop 2 albums
to
and
just
just
drop 2 and
be
be done.
done.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
this Control is still her best album
yeah, for sure.
to me, and this album
And
was
we got to give
solid.
this album more time. We got to give this album more time too.
Yes, we do. I gotta listen to it. I listened to it once full. The first half again. I have to listen to the second half. I gotta give it some couple listens. 23 songs, so it's gonna be a while. But you're right. We have to give it time But don't kill me, Wellington. I think Summer Walker's last album was better than this.
Oh, I gotta go back and listen to that one too. Because I like that one a lot. This one, I really like this one. I really like.
It's really
SOS.
close.
I really like it.
Yeah. SOS is nice. I love the switch up because it was like
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
You just go through different pockets. Like the Nobody Gets Me. Like she would have never put out a song like that a few years ago.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. I'm gonna have to. Yeah. It's close. It's really close.
Listeners, we're happy we have music to analyze from SZA.
Exactly.
This is a good dilemma.
Very good dilemma. Very good dilemma.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for our next review, it's going to be Metro Boomin's Heroes and Villains, and in this new album, Metro really put artists where they need to be at the moment that they need to be there. There's pummeling 808s and muted horns throughout, and a menacing feel on Superhero from Future. This was also a very cohesive album, and there's a juxtaposition that keeps the sonics from getting stale. How did you feel about the production of this album, and kind of to you, which artist had the best performance?
If Metro Boomin don't touch our key. Yeah, this was fire, bro.
It was dope.
This was fire. I love Superhero, man.
Yeah.
Too Many Nights. I'm becoming a Don Toliver fan.
He's up there.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. I'm not a 21 Savage voice gets on my nerves.
Oh man, you didn't like any of 21 fits perfect with Metro.
He does. No, he does. It's just like it's ABC. It's ABC rapping. Like
it's so funny. I recently saw I recently saw an interview with Math Off and Styles P, and he was saying he was talking about how he had an issue with 21 Savage saying Nas is irrelevant, and he was saying 21, you're not at that level. He said, I like you a lot, but you're just not at that that A-list Cole, Kendrick, Drake level. If you're not, and I understood what 21 was saying, but still, because he was saying more so okay, the kids aren't listening to Nas as much, which I mean that is true, but still, Nas had that timeless feel. He had that timeless feel of his music, and if you're not in that A-list category, if you're not one of the 3 GOATs of this generation, you can't make a comment.
No, absolutely, that was a perfect comment from him. Bro, you're not even top 25, top 30, bro. There's so many other lyrical and real MCs, bro. You're not even Jack Harlow is in front of you.
He brought in.
I do not like Jack Harlow.
Yeah, I'm not a Jack fan, but
yeah, no, but 21, you was in a pocket. You came in on the right time. 21 Savage came at the right time because Future era brought so many trap rappers out and it made it popular.
Put the spotlight on.
Yeah. Future really brought a lot of we always say Drake put a lot of people on, but Future's career put a lot of people on without doing features, but just his style of music. He's one of the most
influential artists of this decade. Future's one of the most influential artists of this decade.
Stamp that, prove, boom. Yes. Yeah. I'm not a big trap rapper, but I love Future. Future's music is dope, bro. He finds different ways to, his voice is so
relevant.
Bro, his voice is raspy,
why is this working?
Yes. Bro, this is the dumbest thing, but I like it. But no, man. If you're not in the top 3 of your generation, bro, you don't say anything about the generation that came before, because Nas is definitely top 3 in his generation.
Oh yeah,
sure, bro. Yeah. Nas is so nice, man. In here, real MC, boy. Not bow down, but sit down. Sit down. Yeah, man. Yeah. 21 Savage, boo.
Were there any other? Because Travis Scott was on this album a lot. How did you feel about? I know you're not the biggest Travis Scott fan. I think he did. Think he had some moments on here. Young Thug did. There were a couple other artists on here that I thought had some shining moments.
Yeah, Takeoff track was fine. I like Travis Scott on Raindrops because I thought that was more his lane. The song, and then I didn't really like Creepin'. I didn't like Niagara Falls really. I like the production was crazy. But he had 21 Savage on here too much. Lock on Me, I Lock on Me, I did like Future and Travis Scott. I think is a good combination.
That's a good mix.
Yeah, but my favorite was definitely Superhero, Too Many Nights. I Can't Save You, man. Don Toliver just
Don Toliver just killed this album, man.
Yeah, bro. You put me on Don Toliver, and then one of my the homies put me on. He was like, bro, just listen to this album right here, or listen to this track. And the first song he put me on, he was like, "You can't say I'm not enough." I was like, "Oh, this is nice."
Yep.
Travis Scott song, yeah.
Yep.
So yeah,
definitely solid project. And now getting into Brockhampton's the Family Review. In their last album, this band does its best to tie up deep loose ends while taking both new and old fans on a nostalgic journey. It's also a brutally honest high point to cap an amazing body of work. This project in totality has a balance of energy-fueled moments and also more melancholic ones. But how did you kind of feel about this album and the finality of it?
This was different.
Yeah,
it was definitely different for me. It was a different pace for me. I thought it was dope. I didn't know who this guy was. Wellington again, me finding people that I've never heard of. I'm like, who is Brockhampton, bro? Isn't that a hotel?
The Brockhampton. Welcome to the Brockhampton.
Yeah, right. No, exactly. He probably got a podcast and everything. But I thought it was solid. I thought it was a different style that I'm more listened to in my the music that I rotate each day. But I thought it was solid. I listened to it twice. And
this is one you had to go back to. That's one you got to go back to, honestly. Yeah.
I think it was solid. I think it's certain songs you can put on a playlist, let run. For sure. New Shoes was one I really liked. New Shoes, Man on the Moon were really dope to me. FMG, I like how you started it off. Yeah. FMG was good for me. It was another one. Was it Duct Tape? Was it Duct Tape? I can't remember. It was Duct Tape.
I remember Duct Tape being a pretty good one.
I think Duct Tape. I think it was. I think Duct Tape. But the top three for me was FMG, New Shoes, and Man on the Moon. I thought it was dope.
Yeah, this was a solid. I mean, to me, this was a solid project. It wasn't one like it wasn't. There were some skips on here, but I think the majority of the project you could add onto a playlist. You could go back to, and I just like the mix. Like I like the mix of this project because there were up tempo moments, and then just like really low ones. Like they found that balance of just not being predictable, and that was probably like my favorite element of this project. Like this group was not predictable at all. And now getting into our last review with Coco O's It's a Process. In her debut album for last year, the 13-track project was just a stunningly intimate showcase of the singer's voice across a range of composition, pulling from so many different eras of R&B and soul. What were your thoughts on this debut and kind of how she can build on this for the duration of her career? Because this is a project I remember listening to kind of the early part of this year, but hadn't gone back to. And when I went back to it, I feel as though it's very seamless. It's definitely, you have to be in a certain mood for it because it's very just like loose and kind of has a certain like low flow to it. But what were some of your initial takeaways on it?
I thought this was gonna be a Spanish album, especially with Love Won't Win. I was like, okay, she about to say mi corazón. But nah, yeah, you definitely right. She not reminds me. Her type of style it's like in the range of Alina Bar. Don't let me lie. Let me look it up. Yeah, Alina Barez. That type of like that. You got to be in the mood. Like I wouldn't even call it a vibe. It's just a mood.
It's a mood, yeah. Yeah, that's
the right word. Mood. Yeah. And it's not bad. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's bad at all. But I think like when I first listened to it, I was like, this is different. This is different. Who does she remind me of? And then because I had to be in the mood to listen to Aaliyah Baraz. Because her music is like that mood. You got to be in a certain mood to listen to it. Yeah. But I thought this was decent. Yeah. I didn't listen to it twice. I just listened to it once, but nothing really stood out to me. But I thought it was she had her own sound. I don't know. I didn't really like kind of.
Yeah, she used to be a part of her group.
Backstory.
Yeah, exactly. So she should be a part of her group. And this is another thing that I want to point out because she said about this album, quote, "I have been looking forward to this day for almost 7 years now. to be honest, I have struggled to make this album. I needed to take some time to figure out what I'm about as an artist and how to take ownership of my own process, end quote. Like, it also felt to me that she's still trying to figure out what her identity is as an artist
Yes.
and like what her direction is. I feel like that quote made me think, okay, the album is called "It's a Process." Like this, it literally stated where I think her mindset is. Like she's
Yeah.
not really fully comfortable what she's in. Like did you kind of feel that like she's still trying to like figure out what her niche is particularly and kind of like go into that more?
Now that you give me the background and now like rethinking and trying to remember most of the songs, it does seems like she's trying to find her identity in her own music. Because if you're in a group for most of the time, you're playing a role in that group.
Yeah,
Maybe you don't have the standout vocals as the other counterparts. Now you got to figure out, okay,
right. Your
how
own
can
thing.
yeah, your own thing, your own style, your own construct of a song. I think she's a decent songwriter, to be honest with you, but I do think she's gonna have to find a different niche of her style of music to get a fan base outside of what she
Yeah,
was in a group. I don't know if that group was successful or not, but yeah, she's probably gonna be more successful overseas because
for
she
sure.
has
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
overseas for
That's her
sure.
target.
Not
Yeah,
here. Here.
definitely. Not here. You said that's so subtly. Not here. Oh, so we're gonna take a quick break and be right back with our review of There Will Be. Welcome back to the show, and now we're getting into our review of There Will Be Blood. And to start the overview, There Will Be Blood is a 2007 period drama film written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, loosely based on the 1927 novel Oil by Upton Sinclair. It stars Daniel Day-Lewis as Daniel Plainview, a silver miner turned oilman on a ruthless quest for wealth during Southern California's oil boom of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Paul Dano, Kevin J. O'Connor, Ciaran Hinds, and Dylan Frazier co-star as well. It had a budget of 25 million and brought in 76.2 million into the box office. Had a 91% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And the film just it had brought in so many awards, nominated for 8 Oscars, and Daniel Day-Lewis won the Academy Award for Best Actor in a Leading Role. But to start it off, like, what were your initial thoughts on a film that has been widely touted as a masterpiece, and it boasts just incredible performances from Daniel Day-Lewis and Paul Dano?
I'm a huge fan of Daniel Day-Lewis, man, especially his depiction of these just eradicated roles, and especially Gangs in New York. I think that's one of my favorite films. He's
Oh
been
yeah,
him and Leonardo DiCaprio. I think that was I still watch it to this day, but I thought it was an interesting movie in an interesting time, like where it took place. I think it was between 1880 something and 19 or whatever. I thought it was
hmm
in a good space to where, and I also thought it was shot pretty well and 8 Academy Awards. I think it was definitely well deserved. But I thought it was an interesting character development for Daniel Day-Lewis. Well, Daniel Plainview, I thought his character was very interesting. How they kind of depict him and how they grew him
yeah.
more and more, and it kind of unraveled who he truly was, especially at the tail end. But I thought it was a great film. Thought it definitely yeah, man, I thought it was definitely well deserved with 8 Oscar noms.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when you look at the type of like Daniel Day Lewis is considered one of the best actors in the world, and just in
Hmm.
every category. Like, what do you think makes him such a riveting actor, and how he's able to really just captivate an audience, and just kind of whenever he's on screen, he really demands everybody's
Yeah.
attention and never really lets you slip at all.
I think is the one is under his presence for sure, how he brings the character to life, and I think it's the undertone of his real voice
Mhm.
within the character's voice. So he does a great job of intertwining himself in the character very well, and in jail very well. You could tell that's who he is in real life, how his
Yes.
demeanor, how he speaks, how he demands the room without demanding the room. And I think he brings that to life in each character that he he depicts and he plays. But this character alone, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Gangs of New York, how
Mhm.
he was more so his movements, his body language did most of the talking, and his the different pitches he goes without just like with ease. Like he'll be
Yeah.
in a great, and then he'll start up, and he has these great speeches within each movie that he has. But this one, yeah, I think definitely solidified. Obviously, he won the nom, but I think it really solidified the character development within himself and gelling himself individually in the character together well.
Yeah, absolutely. And now getting to our first topic, from 1 to 4 stars, what would you give it? What would be your particular rating for this film, and kind of like, some of your reasons for it?
I'll give it a 3. Well,
Okay.
3, yeah, I'll give it a 3. I did get lost a little bit. Well, not even lost. I'll say I don't know, I lost interest at a
Okay.
little bit,
Yeah.
especially when it
So
jumped
it's a long
from
film.
different. Yes, it's definitely a long film, and it's yeah, I think I got uninterested, and then it got my interest, especially the different scenes that he was in, and how
Yeah.
they jumped from different stages of different years. But I did think it waned a little bit because of the time and era or whatever. But I give it a 3 star. I thought it was shot well. I thought Daniel Day Lewis alone, his acting alone, really brought the movie to life. But yeah, 3 stars.
Mhm. Yeah, I would go 3.5. I mean, this film was brilliant in terms of writing and presentation, and it really reached deep into the absence of American ambition. Like it almost kind of like it was in the same category as a film that we've reviewed before, No Country for Old Men, which I liked
Yes,
slightly better.
yes.
I didn't really, I never lost interest in that movie. And with
No.
with this one, with There Will Be Blood, I feel as though there, like you said, there were a little bit of lags at certain points. Like, but looking at that year, 2007, No Country for Old Men and There Will Be Blood, how those movies are compared, like even till now, like what do you kind of think like makes those movies different? Because to me, like Javier Bardem, the performance, the villainous performance he had was like
Hmm.
one of the best we've had in the last 20 years. And Tommy Lee Jones, he just had that well seasoned presence
Hmm.
that you just never get tired of. But like, what were kind of like the main differences to you about like those two films?
I think the individual acting, I think we've seen similarities of script writing or just screenplays of these two films. There Will Be Blood, I think, is in a time that really isn't highlighted as much as any other film. But I love the timeline of where they were starting at and where they kind of ended. But I think both films have similarities with screenplay with other films. But I think it was the individual acting. Daniel Day Lewis, and then No Country for Old Men, it was just like he really was a psycho. Like
Yeah,
it was the perfect depiction of a serial killer or just somebody who's not always there. And I think the individual acting really brung the film out because you fall in love with it. I see the scenes on TikTok, on Instagram, Facebook, and you just be
viral.
like, so
It's,
you didn't inherit it. Pick a coin. And he was
yeah,
like, "It's just not a. That's not just not a regular. Like it's those. I remember those scenes because it's like, yeah, I don't know, but I think it was the individual acting that kind of the similarities of why those two films were compared to each other and why they were nominated for so much.
yeah, definitely. And now getting into favorite character. For me, I would have Daniel Plainview because from afar he appears to be an and out villain, but this character brings to the table just an ability to suggest there's
Yeah.
much more to his character than what we see. Like I really like when we get performances where they seem one way, but the more and more the movie goes along, you're like, okay, there's deep rooted issues. There's reasons why they operate the way they operate. And for me, like he really pulled that together throughout this film. But to you, like who overall was kind of your favorite character in this one?
Yeah, Daniel Plainview. It's hard to go away from this character because in the beginning, it sold us of taking an orphan in and
Yeah,
being this depicting this family guy, but having underlining strategic planning behind it to bring your business to light, right? And then once that kid is not of use anymore, you move them to the side. And even if we just gradually show how sadistic
yeah,
he is and how much he wants his ego, his desires, not just to humiliate somebody, but to see them die, not just humiliating to see them die, but disown their own religion. So it's just like you unravel so much in his character, and
yeah,
it's just crazy. He's definitely sadistic, but he's smart. He's
hmm,
strategic. It was chestnut checkers, and he got what he wanted from the beginning to the end. But I love how gradually we unravel that character
hmm,
in this long film.
yeah.
Long.
Was there any other actor you think could have played this role besides Daniel Day Lewis? Like when I think of it, I feel as though he just was born to play this role.
No, yeah, Can't say Al Pacino, can't say DiCaprio. You can't really say any other actor but Daniel Day-Lewis because, like I said, he brings that different element from individual himself into the
Mhm.
character because that's really how he is. And it makes me think like these guys are playing these characters. It's they play it so well because it's in them already and
Exactly.
it's just submerged and it brings it to light even more easily. But yeah, I don't think anybody else can play this role to bring it out like that. Like it's similar to the gangs in New York. I could not see anybody else playing Bill. Like I can't
Mhm.
see anybody but Daniel Day-Lewis playing that role.
Yeah, absolutely. And now getting into most memorable scenes, I had Daniel in HW Hunt and Stubble Stumble on Surface Oil. Also opening the fall, the first payment. The next one, I Will Bless the Well. Daniel buying Sunday Ranch. Eli Sunday's sermon. Also the drilling rig trouble fire scene, which was a really pivotal one. The
Mm-hmm.
business deal, the baptism scene, and then finally I'm finished where Daniel gets his revenge against Eli Sunday. But to you, I mean, like, there's so many you can pick from because like this movie is really built on the scenes, like
Mm-hmm.
the standout scenes. But to you, kind of like which ones were kind of the main ones you remember the most?
The three that the I forgot the character's name, but the son with the guy, the kid that he adopted, him setting the on fire, but house on fire, but he was
Mm,
actually trying to kill. I forgot. It was either one of the Sundays. I think it was Eli. He was trying
yeah,
to kill
Eli.
because because he put Eli in front of him, and then obviously the scene where kind of embarrassed Daniel at the church with his sermon, and then obviously the last scene, just the different stages of his greed, his desires to see somebody not only disown his his religion, not only see him wiver and cry, and but he wanted to see him die, killed them. So yeah, that was definitely the biggest scene. I think it summed up his character in one swoop of a scene, man, which
Mhm.
was crazy. I didn't think he was gonna kill him. I was like, why is he chasing him? Why is he chasing him with bowling pins? And
Rolling
he's
pins, yeah.
making this big speech, and I'm like, okay, is that not enough? Okay, he disowned his religion. Is that not enough? Okay, okay. Now you got to chase him and throw him, and then when he
Yeah.
hit him with the bowling pin, I was like, he's not gonna kill him. He's not. Boom, boom,
Boom.
boom, and I was like, oh wow, okay, psychotic.
What a way to end a movie too.
Right. I don't think there's any other way you can end
That's
that
a wild
movie.
way.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
definitely a wild one.
Definitely. And now getting into most memorable quotes, I had new roads, agriculture, employment, education. These are just a few of the things that we can offer you. Also, I have a competition in me. I want no one else to succeed. Um, Also, I don't even know who you are because you have none of me and you. I like
Oh,
you
that's a
to
good
tell
one.
me that you are and have been a false prophet and that God is a superstition. And then I want to earn enough money that I can get away from everyone. And then finally, I'm finished. And like the quote where he says, I want to earn enough money that I can get away from everyone. Like,
Mhm.
there also was this deep rooted, I think, this feeling about him that he was just like, there's nobody that I trust. I don't, there's no connections that I want to have. I just want to accomplish what I want to accomplish and then
Mhm.
just live my life the way I want to. Like that always felt that seemed like his driving purpose throughout the movie.
Yeah.
But to you, like, what were some of your overall favorite quotes?
Every last one of you mentioned, I always get the good one, and then the last line, "I'm finished,"
Yeah,
was one of the most not most iconic, but I think one of the most
it's up
iconic.
there.
Yeah, it's up there. I'm finished. Like I said, with everything I had in my head and my plans or what I wanted to do in this time frame or whatever, I completed it. All right, I'm finished. I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
That was what that meant for me. Like as his character, as you unravel him, and you were like, okay, that line had to be that line. I'm finished
Mm.
because he still wanted more. He had all the oil, he had the property, he got all the resources, and now he has this kid on the run, like begging for help. I killed them. Okay, I feel good. I got my revenge. I'm finished. And what? Yeah, had to be the best quote of the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And another like standout performance that's been mentioned a lot is Paul Dano's as Eli Sunday. Obviously, like this was more like um, a flamboyant performance. He was the type of character that was always opposing Daniel. Like they never saw eye to eye. They were always
Mhm.
clashing. Like, what were your thoughts on his performance and also like some of the other movies he's been in? Like he recently was in the new Batman, but he does have a knack
Yeah.
for being in kind of flamboyant performances and ones that really get people's attention.
Yeah, I think he's a good actor to be able to play the two twins and having two sides of the coins and him playing And the new Batman also playing with Terrence Howard and Hugh Jackman in the movie that kidnapped the girls or whatever. I forgot. It's on Netflix. I forgot the name of it. But that I thought he played a good role in that. But he brings out this mysterious. I mean, he's already has a
That's the right
distinguished
word. Yeah.
face, but this mysterious vibe to him, and he doesn't really have to say much. But he can tap into different voices to bring out the mild manner, the soft spoken, the crazy. Like he has that range of emotions. But I think he's a good actor. I think he's played in some good films, and I think I think he was there in the moment with Daniel Day-Lewis on set. Like I think he lived up to expectations in that role because
Yeah.
Daniel Day-Lewis, acted his butt off, and I think Paul Dano did the same thing. But it's a total difference. It's Daniel Day-Lewis, like
Yeah. It's a different class.
yeah, it's a different class. But I think he's a good actor though. I think Paul Dano is a good actor.
For sure. And now getting into what did you like the most about the storyline? To me, just how it pitted, a seasoned capitalist against a self-righteous person, and really put a spotlight on the dark side of capitalism. I thought that was like we said, this was in
Yeah.
a different time period that doesn't get
Mhm.
highlighted a lot. There were different just motives from people in that era, and we really were able to see that put on the spotlight. But to you, like, what particular element of this storyline did you kind of like the most?
I love the character. Just one. Well, I like the character development. I think the storyline was good. I thought it was shot relatively well, but I think the character development, how we unravel this character throughout the film, and just to be able to get a end note of the character. It's no like unanswered questions about this character. When he said I am finished, I think that really capped in our understanding of what this character was and what he meant and what his role was in the movie. I thought it was beautiful. It's not a lot of films who can, cap a character. There's nothing else you can do with this character. There's nothing else you can say with this character. You did a phenomenal job of capping and character development for this specific character,
Yeah.
which is Daniel. But I thought it was beautiful. I thought the writing, like you said earlier, the writing was spot on.
Mhm.
Mm.
What do you think was holding, like, obviously, like you felt it was a 3-star film. Like, what do you think was holding it back in your opinion, from being a 4-star film?
It lagged, like you
Yeah.
said earlier, it lagged. It had moments where I was uninterested. It was just like it was a lot of fluff, and
Mm,
to be able to string you
they
to the
didn't cut it
next,
out. Yeah.
yeah, it was a lot
Cut
of.
the fat, as we say. Yeah.
Yeah, cut the fat. It was the monologue. I mean, I like the monologue in certain scenes, but some of the stuff could have been left out that we really didn't need to enhance the story at all. But yeah, it was most parts of lagged and you just was uninterested until it got to some good parts. So
Yeah.
that's why,
Definitely.
yeah. Mhm.
And getting to our last topic, 10 years from now, do we still think it'll be watchable and intriguing? It is definitely passes the test of time in so many categories. And to me, like, with this being a concentrated character study of just a fascinating person, and just being an utterly, a brilliant viewing experience, it's definitely a spectacle. Not perfect, as we mentioned, but it definitely was a film that you can look at as that was pretty well shot. With Daniel Day Lewis, like, I can't say enough about this guy. Is just one of the
Yeah.
defining actors of our generation. Like, you put him in that that Mount Rushmore of guys who's just
Hmm.
done it movie after movie, and just keeps proving himself. But to you, what do you think will make this watchable and intriguing? Let's just say, for those who are big fans of No Country for Old Men and have never seen this movie, what would make this intriguing for them?
I think Daniel Day Lewis, to be honest with you, he's the star of the film, and I think because when you go into this type of genre, it's hard to get into
Yeah,
at first. So you're gonna have to have a well known face, which they got the perfect guy to play the role. But I think it's gonna be Daniel Day Lewis who draws people in to watch this film, and probably No Country for Old Men. But you're gonna have to know somebody to watch this type of film.
yeah.
If you're not like these slow drawn out, but it has decent
It
monologue and good
it doesn't
scenes,
have
then
that pass of just being like, oh, just turn it
yeah.
on. It's
Oh,
not one of
let
those
me.
just turn it
There will
on.
be blood. I only
Let me just
want
turn that on.
exactly. I only watched it one time, and I was like, "What's there for? What is this?" And then I watched. I was like, "Okay, it's cool." Like, I mean, I wouldn't watch it again, to be
Right.
honest with
Yeah.
you. But No Country for Old Men, I would watch it because I mean, it had a lot of action, kept you engaged. I mean, the acting was phenomenal. Like, it was really, really good. Like, it was more lasting. It was only one scene for me. The ending was like I remember the most from There Will Be Blood. But it's multiple scenes in No Country for Old Men that I remember off the top of my head, and I haven't watched it in a couple minutes. So
I'll get like lost in like a YouTube just a raid of just going after clip after clip. I'm like, man, I just need to watch the whole movie again.
right,
Why
no,
am I just
yeah.
watching?
Well worth it.
It is. It definitely is. And before we close it out, like the Academy, like it has this interesting way of like it praises movies that sometimes we don't think are perfect, but they like the movie critics would say, "Oh, this is a perfect film." Like, do you feel as though sometimes their criteria they just have like a different criteria that's maybe just completely different from the regular viewer and what we kind of prefer for the majority of the time?
I think so, but I think the viewership and the audience matters most than the critics. Because
Yes, that's
some of
true.
the films that I feel like the critics love, I mean, like it's trash. Like it's not that good. It wasn't engaged, and the storyline was ABC 1, 2, 3.
Mm,
Like it wasn't like but I do think they have a different criteria, or they try to have a different criteria
yeah,
to be able to say, oh, this film is this film is that. But in all actuality, what matters the most is the audience going to see it. Because I don't care about the view, what the critics say about a film. If I liked it, I like it. Like
yeah,
Master of the Skies has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. I love that movie. And it's an
yeah.
Adam Sandler under it was Happy Madison film,
Mm.
right? And I think it's hilarious. It has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't care. I still watch it to this day. But yeah.
It's all about what the viewer cares about at the end of the day. Like that's absolutely what matters most.
Who paying
Um,
for it?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
exactly. Who
these
watching it? Who
critics
going
they
to
get the
exactly?
backstage passes. They don't have to go to the theaters. They can just watch it in their home.
Right. Yeah,
Surround
they get
sound
sent
system.
to them. Exactly. In the comfort of their home. Man, get out of here.
Exactly.
Come to the trenches.
Yeah, yeah. Get out the mud. Oh my goodness. Well, that wraps it up for tonight. I'm your host, Wendell Burns. Let my counterpart Savon Morris. This has been Full Scope. See you later.